Create Art Podcast, Project National Novel Writing Month, and National Podcast Post Month. Hello, friends. This is Timothy Kimo Bryan, your head instigator for Create Art Podcast, where I take my 20 plus years of experience in the arts and education world and help you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. Well, it's November. Can you believe it? For me, that means celebrating my favorite holiday, which is Thanksgiving. Also, this is my third year for National Novel Writing Month, and where I'll be writing a 50,000 word novel and podcasting every day for National Podcasting Post Month. Killing two birds with one stone. So you're going to hear from me every day in the month, reading the daily output of the novel. I'd appreciate any comments that you have, so please feel free to let me know what you're thinking. You can email me, timothy@createartpodcast.com, or if you go right to the website on each day, you can post your comments right there on the post. Now, why do I do this? Well, if I'm going to ask you to be brave out there and share your work, then I better do it myself. Plus, it keeps my creative muscle going. And who knows what's going to come out of my keyboard here. The podcasting side of the house, it helps me develop my podcasting skills in editing, posting, show notes, all that other stuff that hopefully you don't hear too much of. Now, you can find out about National Novel Writing Month by going to my website and in the show notes, and I'll have the links there for you. And also, National Podcasting Post Month also is going to be in the show notes. So here's today's output. Okay, so just to let you all know, I had to not write on November the 7th. So there is nothing for November the 7th. However, November the 5th. However, today is November the 6th. I got 1,693 words done, which is a total of 8,715 words. Now, if I write more today, because I think I will, I'll probably write more tonight. I will add that to tomorrow's total. So don't look for November 5th. You didn't miss anything. I just didn't write anything because, hey, life happens. I'm a father. I'm a husband. And life got in the way, and that's okay. We're all human beings, and sometimes you have to be a dad before you're a podcaster, writer, artist, whatever. So here we go. Mark and Tinley were still on the couch hours later. Tinley had calmed down and matched Mark's breathing pattern. I think it's time I took a look at the phone and see if we have any word yet, said Mark. I don't even feel her anymore, Mark. I think she's dead. I can't explain it, replied Tinley, who started to sob a bit. Mark checked his phone, and there were over 100 messages between the neighborhood app and friends. There was one that he dreaded all along. The caller ID showed AOL Police Department. He didn't even check the voicemail. He dialed the number directly. Detective Courtney, AOL PD. Is this Mark Bale? Detective Courtney asked, seeing the caller ID on his phone. Yes, you called, replied Mark. Is your wife with you? Asked Detective Courtney. She's right here. We're a bit shaken right now. We haven't been answering our phones or looking at the news. We're just hoping to hear from Winona. But we haven't even heard anything since we heard about the school shooting, said Mark, timidly trying not to ask the obvious question. I can understand why you would do that. There's a lot of misinformation and folks that feed from that stuff and do unthinkable things. So you haven't talked to anyone else since talking with me right now? Asked Detective Courtney. No, I have a feeling you're going to ask us to come in, aren't you? Said Mark. I can send a car if you like, but yes, I'd like you both to come in and bring your cell phones with you, said Detective Courtney. No need for a car. I can drive us there. When do you need us there? Can my wife stay at home? And it can just be us to talk? Asked Mark. I'd rather have both of you in because we would like to check messages, any messages you might have received in relation to this incident. Can you come within the hour? Asked Detective Courtney. Yeah, we'll both be there. Do I ask for you at the front desk? Asked Mark. I'll be there to meet you both, so no need to worry about talking with anyone else. What kind of car are you driving so I can let the front gate know to let you park in the covered area? Said Detective Courtney. I have a blue Chevy HHR with a lot of bumper stickers on the back, replied Mark. Got it. I'll see you within the hour. Mark, it's going to be okay, replied Detective Courtney. Mark clicked off his phone and sat back down on the couch next to Tinley and held her. Her sobs didn't gain in intensity, but they didn't subside either. Silent tears started rolling down his face, and both Mark and Tinley avoided looking at each other, but held on to each other even tighter than before. We need to go to the police station and talk with Detective Courtney. We need to bring our cell phones. He thinks someone tried to get a hold of us before. Mark couldn't complete the sentence. I understand. I heard you gave him a description of my car, so I take it we're using my car to drive there. Do you want me to drive? Asked Tinley, finding the strength to help her husband cope with what she had been coping with since she lost the feeling of having Winona. No, I'll drive. I'm sorry I dismissed your feelings earlier. He didn't say anything about her, but we should probably expect the worst. Do you want to take a few minutes, or should we just get this done? Asked Mark. Let's go ahead and get this done. The sooner we talk with the detective, the sooner they can get started on their work. My key's on the hanger next to the front door. I'll go. Let me grab my purse. Tinley got up and headed to the kitchen and grabbed 2 travel mugs and filled them with coffee, hers with cream and sugar and his black. She started to giggle a little to herself, remembering one of his favorite catchphrases. What's funny, dear? Asked Mark. As black as my soul. I'm grabbing his coffee and remembering when you got your car. Now, how you always tell people you like your coffee as black as your soul, replied Tinley, still giggling a little to herself. Detective Courtney hung up the phone and reached in his desk and pulled out a burner phone and dialed a number that would be gone after the call he was about to make. Send in the cat. 3 blind mice heard the grandfather clock strike 1. No cheese back home, said Detective Courtney. There was no voice on the other end, just the usual sound of a hung-up line once the detective finished his sentence. The detective made another call to his desk on his desk phone to the front desk of the police station. Yeah, this is Detective Courtney. I've got 2 coming in, driving a blue Chevy HHR, lots of bumper stickers on the back. Let them go ahead and park in the covered area. Should be Mr. and Mrs. Bale. Much appreciated. They should be here within the hour. Give me a call on my cell when they arrive. I'll be down there, but I just want to make sure that I know when they approach. Thanks. He hung up the call and grabbed some cups and food from the break room. He made sure he had enough tissues and that the hidden camera and digital recorder in his office were functioning properly. Cody was reviewing the file on the Bales when he got the notification from the team that they'd been activated and would be in the house in just outside of an hour. It was confirmed that Mark worked at the same office in the same department as Wolfgang. Mark was a veteran who had served 12 years in the military, specifically the Air Force, where he was listed as an aircraft maintainer. However, it wasn't listed as which aircraft he maintained. The firm Mark and Wolfgang worked for was a contracting consulting agency with the federal government, specifically the Department of Energy and their Human Resources Division. Mark had been there for 10 years and was being recruited for a full-time position with the agency. His department mainly dealt with increasing morale, resilience, and diversity. Tinley had been a school teacher up until she gave birth to Winona. She wasn't active in the PTA, but she was active in local issues such as the local library and gun control. Tinley was also a volunteer for the opposition candidate that the followers of Zeno had a large file on. There was little in the way of information for Winona. She didn't have a cell phone. was not on any social media apps, and Mark and Tinley made sure that no post included a picture of Winona. He noted that his team had already wiped her file from the Swan Victor Elementary School. However, Winona had only been at that school for 2 years since the family moved in that area. The team reported that they were trying to find where she had been previously, and would have an update soon. Cody notified his script team that he wanted a quick meeting. He sanitized his office and logged into the virtual office where he waited. Adrian and Dylan appeared on the virtual office a few minutes later. Both men were focused and ready to take notes. So I just sent you both the files on the Bales. I want a complete turnaround of their lives. I want to be able to easily discredit them, starting with their ever having a child. Working there's something about infertility treatments, and hint at a possible affair with the opposition candidate. Nothing firm, but give a hint of a possible affair. Since we won't be able to do much about Mark's military service, maybe something about mental health, because we all know how easy it is to make veterans appear to be unbalanced with little to no proof. I think you can tie Tinley's volunteer work with some anti-government groups and make that the reason why Mark hasn't been promoted to working for the federal government yet. Make some noise about his background check, maybe that he failed it. We have already wiped the records of Winona at the school, and she's only been there for about 2 years, so she hasn't had time to make many friends, I'm sure. And if anyone does come out saying that they were friends, then we'll handle that as it comes. She went to school somewhere else for K through 1, and once we find that information, we'll wipe it if we can. Gentlemen, this is priority. I need to see this script in 3 hours so we can get it out on the airwaves and control the narrative. Do you have any questions? Asked Cody. Can we add some police records about marital abuse and reports of such from the neighbors? Asked Adrian. Maybe add some rumors of Mark about to get fired from his job due to poor performance? Added Dylan. I'd like to keep the police out of it simply because we don't have any contacts there that can support those claims. I also don't think Wolfgang has enough access to or clout to help with what you're suggesting, Dylan. Wolfgang is a fairly new recruit and isn't as embedded as that would need to be. Let's just stick with what I've given you. The big thing is discredit them for even having a child and push the marital upheaval. I am sure that once they hear from our contact about their child's death, we will have enough information downloaded after we get a hold of their phones to fill in any necessary holes you see in the story. Anything else? Asked Cody. We're right on it now, sir. You'll have the script in 3 hours, said Adrian. Thank you for listening to this episode of Create Art Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard or absolutely hated it, hey, please feel free to leave me a comment right there on the website, or you can email me, timothy@createartpodcast.com. If you got something out of any of the episodes here, please consider sharing it with a friend. And if you would, also let me know what would make this a 5-star podcast, I'd like to hear that. I want to make sure that I'm helping you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. By the way, I run another podcast called Find a Podcast About, and that's where I help you outsmart the algorithm and find your next binge-worthy podcast. You can find that at findapodcastabout.xyz. If you go to the website, there's a way where you can leave me an actual voicemail, which I think is pretty nifty. Anyhow, I have a lot of reviews there of different podcasts from different genres, and I even have some interviews from the podcasters themselves. So if you're looking for a new podcast with a great recommendation, with a well-thought-out critique of everything you need to know about the podcast, then go to findapodcastabout.xyz. We'll see you next time.